Hello everyone, welcome to today's session, which is on targeting a 100 percentile in the Diala section of CAT 2020. This session is brought to you by Nilanjan Dutta, a 100 percentiler as well as a Diala section 100 percentiler as well, and I'll be talking about what exactly a lot of you can do to get towards this elusive percentile in what is probably the most challenging section in CAT. So if we look at CAT 15 to CAT 19, that is the last 5 years of CAT, the interesting thing is, common is, the Diala section has almost always been moderate to difficult in nature and has probably been one of the consistently challenging sections in each year of CAT. The verbal and quants have been easy in some years, moderate in some years, and maybe would moderate to difficult in 1 or 2 years, but the Diala section has consistently been moderate to difficult or maybe difficult year after year. So given that factor in mind, the Diala section has been a make or break section, and if you look at most of the CAT toppers, they've also been people who've topped in the DLR section as well, because DLR has always been the make or break section in CAT. So now the all important question is, how do you achieve a top percentile in the DLR section? What are the things you need to do to get towards the top percentile as far as the DLR section is concerned? So today's session we're discussing all about that. Do make sure that all of you are providing your inputs and are sharing the video on all your CAT preparation groups and forums so that more and more people can be part of this session. This is a brief introduction about myself, and I wanted to inform all of you about running Unacademy Plus courses by me that includes the DLR Plus courses. So we've just started with an LR batch in the month of April. Do make sure that all of you are attending each and every session as part of this new LR batch that got started this month itself, that is April onwards. This is part of the ultimate Scope within Unacademy Plus courses that are intended to give your scores a 20-25 marks boost in each of the sections. That is the DLR section where you can give your scores a 20-25 marks boost. To be a part of this batch, you can use the discount code Nilanjan.yt while subscribing to Unacademy Plus. So how do you subscribe to Unacademy Plus? The Unacademy Plus cash subscription is available at unacademy.com/plus. There you select the cash subscription. Ideally what you should be doing is going for either 12-month or the 24-month subscription. Remember, whichever one you're going for, if you're using the discount code Nilanjan.yt while subscribing, you'll get it at a further discount compared to the prices mentioned here. And given that CAT is around 7 months away, plus then after that you've got ZAT and all, which is another 1.5 months away, that and the IFT and the other exams, and then you have the GDPI part as well. It's ideal that you go for the 12-month or the 24-month subscription. You're also relatively cheaper as well. Other than the DLR batch, you also have what is called the Perfect Score batch for CAT 2020. This is a special batch that has been designed by CAT top 100 percentilers and is spread across all the 3 sections, that is VRC, DLR and Quants, ensured to give all of you the perfect chance to get a perfect score, which includes the CAT 100 percentile in sights. So this is a course that runs across VRC, DLR and Quants. Do make sure all of you are attending each of these courses. Use the discount code Nilanjan.yt while subscribing to the 12-month or a 24-month subscription plan. This is where in the referral code section you can enter the code here, and then you can click on apply before you subscribe to the Unacademy Plus CAT subscription. So now what we'll do is we'll talk about the DLR section attempting strategy. So what are the most important things that you do in DLR? So in DLR you have 60 minutes a section, and in that the biggest challenge and questions people ask is how many sets is attempting is good. On Unacademy Plus, we recommend students to attempt greater than equal to 6 sets, preferably a 7 or 8 sets in the 1 hour mark. And the moment I say greater than 6 sets, the next question becomes, if I have to attempt greater than 6 sets in 60 minutes, it means I'm looking at less than equal to 10 minutes per set. And that is where it's very important that you are attempting sets in a time-bound fashion that is less than 10 minutes per second. That is the only way you can get the greater than equal to 6 sets, preferably a 7 or an 8 set as well. Please understand that if somebody is attempting only 3 to 4 sets, his score will obviously be routed at a 35 to 40. It cannot go beyond that. The only way to get to the 60 plus mark in DLR is if you're attempting greater than 6 sets and preferably getting a bonus 7 or 8 set. Why so? Because there are a lot of parts to it. If you look at CAT in the recent years, you would have found that there are only maybe 3 sets which are doable or easy or moderate level. And then you have 5 sets which are of challenging nature, which are difficult to solve completely. However, if you look at CAT in the recent years, you would have noticed that it's in these 5 sets that you get approximately 2 or 3 doable questions per set, which automatically means somebody who is attempting 7 or 8 sets is not only getting the luxury of 3 easy sets where you can easily score 30 plus here, but he's also getting the luxury of 5 additional sets where you can get 2-3 questions correct. That is another 30 here. And the moment he's getting 30 from both segments, he's ending up with a raw score of greater than 60, which usually translates to a percentile in the range of 99.9 plus in DLR. And from there, if you're getting the 7th or 8th set in place an extra couple of questions with 3 questions in a set, you can end up at the 100 mark. So this is where it's very important that you attempt as many sets as possible. The next important thing is where you're adopting what is called structured approaches for unstructured problems. In DLR, if you look at it the last few years, it's been a lot of unstructured sets which either have a lot of data, or the other problem is very few clues, but then you do not know how to proceed in the set. So either ways, most of the sets have unstructured nature where it's not very clear how do you need to go about approaching the set. And that is where what has been happening set after set is people end up wasting 4-5 minutes trying to figure out what is the thing I need to do to approach this set. They keep going around circles trying to think about what do I prioritize as my column headers, what do I prioritize as my parameters, do I need to make a table for this, do I need to make any arrangement for this, and so on. And that is where if you're going with a structured approach in mind, then automatically what you do is you end up saving this 4-5 minutes that gets wasted in a set. Remember, the more and more you rely on structured approaches, to sets, the more easier it is. Also, the other thing that you've got to understand is that given that the sets are unstructured in nature, it doesn't make sense to waste 10-15 minutes at the start of the paper by looking at all 8 sets and figuring out which are the doable ones. Why? Because anyways, if you're attempting breathing into 6 sets, that is 7 or 8 sets, that automatically means you have to attempt all kind of sets, whether they're easy, moderate, difficult. So wasting 10-15 minutes glancing through each set in 1-2 minutes each and trying to figure out which are the easy sets doesn't make sense. Because remember, the luxury is you don't have the luxury of attempting 3-4 sets and getting 100 percentile. You have to attempt 6, preferably 7 or 8 sets. So don't waste 10-15 minutes in choosing sets. It's rather better to attempt 2 sets in that time so that you can move from 4 to 6 plus sets. Also remember that in 1-2 minutes, it's impossible to judge a set as easy, moderate, difficult. A lot of times the set might seem to be easy because there are very few clues, but when you start solving, you realize that there aren't enough things to solve the set. Whereas sometimes there might be a lot of data in the set, but if you look at individual questions, a couple of them might be just requiring 1-2 liners involving simple calculations. So again, do not try to judge sets on a basis of 1-2 minutes. The third thing, which is very important, is you get marks for solving questions and not sets. As I said, approximately out of 8 sets, 5 sets are difficult to solve. But maybe if you can partly solve it and partly use the question options based approach, the options to your advantage, you can solve maybe 2 or 3 questions in that set. So even though the set is not solved, you're getting your marks for attempting those 2-3 questions. So even if you're getting 3 correct and 1 wrong, you end up getting a +8 in that set. And believe me, getting these +8s in these 4-5 difficult sets is more important than getting the +12 in the 3 easy sets. Because this is what will create that additional difference between you and other aspirants. Always remember, it's not necessary that you're going to get +12s. Even if you're getting +8s in few sets, that can really help you, especially given that those are sets which are difficult in nature. So remember, focus on solving sets. Also, doing that, what it'll do is, if you are ending up getting 3 questions correct in a set in 5-6 minutes, it doesn't make sense to waste another 5-6 minutes solving the entire set just for 1 remaining question. It might be wiser to take a educated guess in that last question and move on. Because remember, your emphasis is not on blindly solving the set, it's on maximizing your marks. And maximizing your marks comes from solving questions in minimum time. The next thing is, any set that you've invested a few minutes on, never leave a question unattempted. Because remember, all that effort and time that you went into structuring the approach to the set goes into waste if you're leaving a question unattempted in that set. So even if you're not able to solve the completed, at least try and take a shot at the answers. And the easiest way to do that is exploring the clues and options in a set. Remember, every set has got 4 questions, approximately 4 options each as well, which means 4 into 4, 16 additional clues in the set. So make use of these additional clues in a set, especially in cases where a actual set has very few clues. If these 16 additional clues, they can help you solve the set more easily. Why so? Because remember, all question options in a set are related, which means question 1's options will have a bearing on question 2's options, and so on. It might be in a situation where you've got the answer to question 1 as option C, And then you realize if question 1 is option C, then question 2 will have to be option A. None of the other options are possible. So that means even if you are not able to solve for question 2, based on the answer of question 1, you can mark the answer of the other questions as well. Because remember, they're all based on the same data that is there in the set. That is the beauty of DILR. All the question options are based on the same data. So any questions options in a particular question will have an impact on the other questions in the set as well. So any questions thus far? So focus on maximizing your marks, because remember, that is what is the ultimate aim of attempting the DILR section. Make use of all the question options in a set. Often it might happen that a particular wrong option in a particular question in the set might give you additional clues that can help you solve the entire set as well. So make use and leverage all those opportunities getting DILR. Especially what happens is, if the set is difficult, you might sometimes end up getting stuck, or maybe the structured approach may not click to you immediately, and in such cases the clues and options will enable you. So ensure that you are making use of the question option set. What is important is the first 1 minute of any DILR set. The first 1 minute of any DILR set, it's very important that you spend the time in going through all the question options in the set, so that when you're solving the set at any point of time, if you're getting stuck in the set, you can leverage the question options to your advantage to maybe plug in a few extra clues. You can use click for clues, plug in some entries in the table and mark a couple of answers. So remember, always leverage the first 1 minute in going through all the question options in a set, because that is where your marks lie. Do not just be stuck to the first question that is seeable. When you're solving the set, you'll only get to see the first question. Just move 3 questions forward, look at those questions, and then start solving the set. Now, why do the options work so easily? As I said, question options are related, which means any particular question 1's options will have a bearing on question 2, 3, 4 and so on. And given there are so many interdependencies, it's impossible to set options which will enable that all interdependencies are eliminated. The other thing is, if you look at it in DILR, any of those challenging sets that have been coming in the recent years takes 3 to 4 hours to be created, and then each question takes 20 minutes to be framed. But then comes the waste of time thing, that is setting options. So all they do is they provide the right answer, and then they come up with random options in the next 15 to 20 seconds. Sometimes what might happen is the person who's setting the question is not even setting the options. Somebody else is setting the options based on similar past paper options, based on the right answer that has been provided to him or her. And because of this, what happens is in most of your mocks and maybe the actual exam as well, it becomes so easy to leverage the options to your advantage. And the moment you do that, it becomes so much more easier to crack CAT. So definitely remember this, all question options are related, so make the most of this in the exam day, be it your mocks, be it the actual CAT, make the most of it. The next thing that comes in is how do you perform your DLR mock analysis. So ideally when it comes to mocks, what I recommend is taking 2 mocks a week. And if you look at the fact that the mock season usually starts sometime in May onwards, so you effectively have 6 months. 6 months means around 26 weeks. 26 weeks into 2 mocks a week, that means around 50 odd mocks. Ideally, they should be from 2 different institutes so that you have exposure to 25 mocks each from 2 institutes. Now the question is, how do I do my DLR mock analysis? The first thing that you need to do is every set after the mock is over, make sure that you're going through the solutions and details for 10 to 15 minutes per set. Try and understand what is the structured approach that has been conveyed about, what are the possible opportunities that were there for you to exploit the clues and options to your advantage, even if you weren't able to solve the set. Look at the last steps and so on and see if there was any hints that could have been used at the onset itself to crack those particular questions, so that next time a similar kind of question comes, you can automatically leverage it to your advantage and not waste too much of time in that set. In case there's something unique about a set, you can try and take note of that so that next time a similar kind of set comes, you're aware of the approach to that set. The other thing that is important is across the 50 mocks that you're taking, understanding which is your strong, moderate and weak areas. The moment I say strong, moderate and weak areas, a lot of people are asking how do I identify that? And that is where what is important is going back to your mock dashboards. In your mock dashboards, what you'll find is there are several columns of parameters, and one of the most important parameters is marks per minute. Why so? Because this is basically giving you what is called your return on time, and this is the most important parameter always for every section when you're doing an analysis, because that is taking into account the marks part, of taking into account everything like your attempts, your accuracy and so on, and your minutes part is taking into account how much of time you're taking in solving the set. A healthy marks per minute is anything greater than equal to 1, because it automatically means a 60-minute exam, you're looking at a total marks of greater than equal to 60. So to achieve that marks per minute, what you need to do is you need to look at topic-wise in DLR how much you're scoring. For example, let's say in linear circle arrangements, your marks per minute is coming out to be 0.9. Let's say in DI graphs and charts, your marks per minute coming out as 1.2. In games and tournaments, it's coming out to be 0.8. In logic-based DI, it is coming out to be 0.5. In multi-parameter and matrix-based LR, it's coming out to be 1.4 and so on. So in such a case, what is important is identify which are those weak areas that bring your score down. For example, here if you look, compared to your average score, which is around the 1 mark, this is the parameter that is bringing your score down drastically, which means this is something which falls definitely in your weak zone. So what do? In your actual mocks or in your actual CAT, try and attempt sets more from your areas which are in your strong and moderate zone. So when I say attempting greater than equal to 6 sets, preferably a 7th or 8th set, that basically means you have the luxury of maybe skipping out 1 set in the go. So what do? Attempt sets in a linear fashion. No choosing sets, attempt in linear fashion. Only, for example, when you're attempting in a linear sequence, let's say you encounter set 5, which is a logic-based DI set, which is from your weak zone. So the moment you attempt set 4 and you step into set 5, it's a logic-based DI set, so you skip that and attempt 6, 7 and 8 and so on. Somebody else might be having games and tournaments as a weak set, so in case games and tournaments is set 4, you attempt 1, 2, 3 and then proceed with 5, 6, 7, 8 in continuation. What this is doing is it's also ensuring that if you're attempting a 6 set, you're not missing out on any easy sets at the end. At the same time, it's ensuring that you're not attempting a set from what is your weak zone. And remember this, in case a set has been your weak zone, even after taking 50 mocks, what does that mean? That means whether the set is easy, moderate, or difficult, you are never able to solve it. And given that you've never done it in 50 mocks, it means on an actual day also, it's very unlikely you'll be able to solve such a set. So don't waste unnecessary time and effort on such a set. It's better to attempt sets which are in a strong and moderate zone. Even if the set is more difficult, it's better to attempt in a strong and moderate zone, because that is where your confidence level lies. So play sets according to your strengths, basis of whatever you've seen in your mock analysis dashboard over the span of the next 6-7 months. So as I said, attempt sets in your strong and moderate zone. Attempt sets linearly, so you don't have to waste time in choosing sets. Only if a set is from your weak zone, then eliminate those sets. Otherwise, just keep attempting sets in a linear fashion, but obviously in a time-bound fashion. Every 10 minutes, you should have skipped sets. So the main idea is, when you're at the 60-minute mark, you're attempting the first set. At the end of the 50-minute mark, make sure you're on the second set. At the end of the 40-minute mark, make sure you're on the third set. At the end of the 30-minute mark, make sure you're on the fourth set. At the end of the 20-minute mark, when 20 minutes mark is left, you're on the fifth set. When you have 10 minutes left, make sure you're in the sixth set. And when you have 0 minutes left, make sure you're on the seventh set. So that is the way you should be approaching every set in less than equal to 10 minutes per set. As far as the daily practice for DILR goes, daily you need to be looking at 2 sets of practice. One could be moderate types. The second set has to be difficult types. One moderate, one difficult. That is the way you can look at 2 sets on a daily basis. But both the sets must come up with 10 minutes of solving plus 10 minutes of analysis. So daily 45 minutes, 2 slots of 20 minutes each is what you must devote to DILR. They need not even be continuous 45 minutes. They could be sometime when you're free. Just take out 10 minutes plus 10 minutes, 20 minutes to try and solve plus analyze a DILR set whenever you're free. It could be when you're traveling. It could be when you're just free out of work for some time. It could be when you're free of college classes for some time. Just take out some time and do these sets. But make sure you're doing it on a regular basis, because automatically, if you're doing 2 sets daily from now until CAT, that is around 200 days away, you've automatically given yourself 400 plus sets experience to leverage on CAT day. A lot of you are asking about how do you start with DILR. Make sure you're attending all the DILR live classes. Books wise, you can refer to maybe the Arun Sharma book that is part of the McGraw Education series. But other than that, make sure you're attending the live classes by all the top educators on Unacademy Plus. And talking of DILR live classes, we have the CAT Plus course where me, a CAT plus a DILR 100 percentiler, is taking live classes for DILR. A new batch of logical reasoning have just started in the month of April. Do make sure that all of you are being a part of these classes which are intended to give yourself the 20-25 marks boost in each of the sections. Use the discount code Nilanjan.yt while subscribing. Just make sure all of you are subscribing to Unacademy Plus CAT subscription. Ideally go for the 12-month or the 24-month subscription plan. Either of them would suffice, but whichever one you're going for, make sure you're using the discount code Nilanjan.yt while subscribing to get the best discounts while subscribing to the Unacademy Plus CAT subscription, and do that as soon as possible. What that will do is it'll give you access to not just the DILR courses but also the Perfect Score batch, which is a combined initiative across all the 3 sections, VRC, DILR and Quants. This is a special batch that is designed for CAT 2020 aspirants who are aiming for the perfect score, where sessions by CAT top 100 percentilers would be, and other top educators in Unacademy Plus would be taken. All these courses are part of a single subscription. Just make sure you're going for a longer duration like a 12 months or 24 months subscription. Use the discount code Nilanjan.yt while subscribing. So here in the referral code section is where you need to enter the code Nilanjan.yt while subscribing, and you'll get your discount and the price will reduce and you can check out. So do make sure you're attending each and every session live as part of the live classes so that you can benefit the most from each of these sessions, because if more and more you attend live, the easier it would be to follow each of these sessions. And do not procrastinate further. Subscribe as soon as possible. On that note, thank you everybody and happy learning.